All right. Good afternoon. Good morning if you're over on the West Coast and it's not yet afternoon. I'm Steve Taylor. Welcome to another installment of MSP webinars. Today we have GMS Live Expert, and I'll do an introduction of all the friendly faces that you see here in a moment. But first, I just want to remind everybody that's here live on Zoom, there is a Q&A section. I believe it's up in the top, like if you hover your mouse over the screen, you'll see a couple buttons pop up where you can ask questions. You can also view other questions that people have asked, add comments, vote on questions if you want something to be answered. So feel free to do that. If you are watching from YouTube, I will be monitoring the YouTube chat. So, if you have questions, feel free to pop something into there as well. This week, we should be having the processes and procedures 1 year later on Thursday. And we also have a couple of more breakout sessions that are available to members of MSP webinars. Wednesday, we're going to continue script repository building. And we've actually got a prize we're giving out to the best script of $40. And Friday, we're going to have a discussion on ConnectWise Automate. So a lot of fun things happening this week. All right, so today, we've got GMS Live Expert, and they are a really cool company. They offer outsourced help desk and NOC services. And I've asked Dan to provide us some insight as to more like, behind the scenes. How does the company actually make the help desk and the NOC work so that way, you guys can be confident that they know what they're doing and they're going to be able to provide the level of service you would expect for your clients. So we're joined by Dan, the Director of Marketing, Tanis, the VP of Operations, Danny, the Director of Partner Development, and Randy, the Director of Business Development. So with that said, Dan, I'm just going to pass it over to you, and please educate us.
Perfect. Thank you. Just to confirm, can you see my screen down there?
It looks fantastic.
Okay, great. So, as Steve mentioned, we're from GMS Live Expert. My name is Dan Goldstein, Director of Marketing. And today we're going to share a webinar with you about life with an outsourced help desk and NOC. So, I won't go over the introductions again, but these are the folks on the line. Basically, we have a lot of our upper management on the line here today. So we're excited to share our experiences with you and the decision-making process, how we do things, and answer any questions that you might have. Before we dive into that, I'll give you a quick background on GMS. So the company is 19 years old. GMS Live Expert is actually a brand of Global Mentoring Solutions. So Global Mentoring Solutions is 19 years old, founded by my father, actually, so we're a family company. We run 24/7 help desk and NOC, 100% North American based, across phone, chat, and TSA and RMM agnostic approach. We've experienced 400% growth over the past 5 years, up to 125 plus employees, actually closer to 130 now. Again, 100% North American based. To give a feel for the scale of the organization, in 2017, we've handled about 500,000 tickets with a 93.5% resolution rate, which we're super proud of. So with that, I will pass it over to my learned colleague, Randy, to take us through the next few slides.
Well, thanks very much, Dan. So what we want to cover today, folks, is what's it like for a GMS partner? What does life look like? A lot of times we get questions, are we going to lose control of our customers if we outsource to your help desk or your NOC? What type of service levels am I going to get? Is this going to hurt my profitability? And what's a partnership actually look like with GMS Live Expert? And let me answer a couple of those questions because I think they're great bullet points. When people ask if you're going to lose control of your customers, I actually think it's the complete opposite opposite. I think you actually gain more control of your clients, because a lot of times MSPs spend a lot of time in the back trying to fix the problems, and they don't actually get in front of the business owner. You intend, I mean, the road to gold is paved with good intentions. You want to get there, but all of a sudden there was an issue that needed your attention and you weren't able to book that meeting, or you had that meeting booked and you weren't actually able to attend and you had to push it out. So with our help desk or our NOC in the background, we actually take care of all the business processes. We look after your, if it's NOC services, scripting, patching, and updates, if it's help desk services, we're answering all your questions. So it actually frees you up to actually sit in front of that business owner and actually get the time and discuss how you can put a fence around their business and actually increase their profitability. Meanwhile, you now have projects that you can take on and you can focus your resources on actually making you money. So I think you actually gain more control with your customers when you have our outsourced type of model. The service levels and coverage you get could be 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It can be evenings, weekends. It can be whatever you want. We're actually very flexible from a price standpoint. So your profitability is actually going to go up because you're using an outsourced model. Because, I mean, it's scalability, right? It's economies of scale. For us, we give you generally between 7 to 10 frontline help desk agents, which we call mentors. And I'll kind of get into that in a little bit for you. But if you have 2 guys on your help desk, I'm going to give you 10. So how can you really play against that? And what's a partnership look like? And what does a relationship look like? Well, a partnership for GMS is very, very intense. We do that because it's up to us to ensure that the successful partnerships are ones that can grow. And when you have that ability, what you're able to do is say, look, I'm going to meet with you every week and every month, and we're going to pass our reports back and forth, and you have open dialogue. You've got frontline operations that you can speak with. You've got account management, and you've got business development all under one banner that you get to talk to. So we actually really help you increase your profitability by growing your business. Valuing your time, critical decision point required. Obviously wearing multiple hats. This is actually, Danny, I'll let you talk to this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the handoff, Randy. In terms of what the slide speaks to, the scarcest resource for most MSPs is their time, as Randy alluded to, and outsourcing your help desk and NOC to an organization like GMS Live Expert will give you that back. That's our main objective. Most MSPs today will find themselves wearing multiple hats, from doing things like operating, obviously, their business on a day-to-day basis, to handling incoming support requests, delivering on projects, and remediating critical issues that their RMM software is alerting them on. This sometimes will lead to inconsistent quality of service, as they've often been bogged down trying to do multiple things and again, wearing different hats quickly. To run a successful MSP business, you as a business owner need focus, focusing on 1 or 2 critical activities that you've promised your clients to basically deliver on. Also critical is focusing on the business side of things like marketing, sales, etc. And lack of focus on these things will lead to business owners typically burning out. There's also an opportunity cost to having your key engineers, folks that are typically highly paid, catering to mundane tasks or what we call low value work. You become unprofitable. You have staff that are underwhelmed by their daily activities, which could lead to higher turnover. The reason I'm making these points is that while these tasks are absolutely necessary, they can be easily outsourced or automated. I'll now let Randy talk about how to attract high performers.
Thanks, Danny. The reality of it is you got to keep people engaged. Keeping high performers is not an easy task. And I'll tell you something, when I give you a metric of what we see as the average tenure on a help desk, it'll blow your mind. I guess the questions really become, do you have enough time to train your people and keep them in their seats for longer than about 18 months? Folks want to be challenged at the end of the day. So they feel that there's loyalty within the company, but they also want to invest in your future. I mean, I do that here at GMS. I know what the vision of the company is, and I'm all in, and I bought all in. With what seems, like nonstop tickets and on-site work and projects, and it sometimes feels like there's so much to handle. You combine that with evenings and weekend support, on call and pager duty. It can cause employee frustration, really. People just get burnt out. And I actually was talking to a partner and said it became a health issue for him. His employees were so burned out that they needed an outsourced help desk model. And we're currently working together on that. So really what happens next? At the end of the day, people start looking for opportunities elsewhere. They just don't feel that this is the right environment for them. Now, I want to talk about the average tenure. In our industry, we actually see about 18 months is the average tenure of a help desk agent. I'm very proud to say at GMS Live Expert, the actual tenure of our frontline mentors is about 7.5 years on average. So we retain our staff, and there's many different factors that go into that. Training, and we're always challenging them, and we give them, and we require that they take courses to upgrade their skills, and there's remuneration for all of that, and it's a great opportunity for our staff to grow. So keeping high performers, that's another issue, right? You might get them in, you got to set the expectation, but the fact is no employee is really going to care much about your business as much as you do as the owner. But what's the career path that you have set for them? You have to ask yourself, how are you actually going to get them there? You can't just put an employee in the chair and say, okay, off you go, best of luck. There's a lot of work that goes into it. High performers also strive on challenges, but they need to be consistently empowered, to be able to make that change, to make that difference. I can tell you here at GMS, that's one big part of my job is when I'm sitting in front of our senior leadership teams, discussing opportunities and issues and what we think can actually improve the company and operationalize it. Well, same thing with high performers. You want to keep them engaged, and they want to know the company's vision and what's in it for them. At the end of the day, you're going to keep satisfied employees when they feel engaged and they think that there's actually something in it for them. Now, how does GMS help you with this? Well, we actually can help simplify by, trying to put a couple little factors in place. So Dan, if we can move, there you go. Now, we always say that, do you want to build this or do you want to buy it? Okay, and you'll see at the bottom of the slide, there's a link for gmslivexpert.com/calculator. Here's the differences. If you want to build it, probably, I would say realistically, you're looking at about a good $350,000 to build a help desk properly. And that's a full 24/7 rotation, 365. And that doesn't take into consideration having some extra staff to handle vacations and sick days. And, there's other factors. At GMS, we ride the peaks and valleys of your growth. So, really, we become immune to those daily, weekly, hourly spikes. Maybe one afternoon you happen to take, there's an issue, and all of a sudden 15 phone calls are rolling in that hour. Well, if you got two people to handle it on your help desk, calls are going to back up on hold. They're just not even going to leave a message. Well, with GMS, you actually have those people who are taking those phone calls for you because you've got a defined team of people. You capitalize on the cost of the scariest resource you have. We call them naggy Nellies. It's folks who constantly phone and have issues. And how do I do this? And how do I turn my font from red to green? Well, do you really want your level 3 guys answering those phones? And that's what we talk about by keeping your team focused on what they enjoy. It's that growth, that opportunity. Why would you want to have a level 3 technician answering level 1 and level 2 questions? I don't really think it makes perfect sense to do that. Let them focus on the projects and server migrations and the things that are going to make you money. Let the help desk be revenue positive for you. And again, if you want to run by some numbers, it's not weighted specifically in any direction, our calculator. It's great to plug in some numbers. And I think Danny's going to speak to that next.
Absolutely. So this is an amazing tool that we've developed to help you calculate what goes into building a robust help desk staff. The industry average of providing 24/7 support is around 6 support engineers, depending on the size of your user base, of course. 3 engineers are typically needed to cover regular 9x5 support hours. And in terms of factors affecting overall costs, it includes things like the annual salary of a technician, bonuses offered for performance, insurance costs are included, employment tax, can't forget about that. Everyone loves tax, right? IT spend, overhead such as gas, mileage, utilities, and the list goes on. So these variables is what makes up the annual cost of a per technician. Next up is calculating the technical labor capacity. Most MSP operations will have a total of around 260 days per annum of working days. You can then plug in things like sick days, vacation days taken, days off for training. The typical workday is usually around 6 to 7 hours. And the daily productivity percentage per tech, meaning what percentage of the average workday are your techs actually being productive, usually around 75 to 80%, or you should at least aim for that number. These variables will determine the total annual productive hours. In the next slide, The final factor that goes into building that robust help desk is training, continuous training, management, and turnover. So populate this portion of the calculator with your annual training. Cost per techs, getting certifications, for example, weeks needed to train a technician, techs hired per annum, assuming that you'll be losing one tech per year on average. And Randy touched about some of the reasons why you might be losing some technicians or engineers, if you will. New technology setup, hours spent supervising your technicians, and annual cost to supervise, which is based on what you've entered in the previous field above. Once all of this has been populated, our calculator then provides you with what your overall cost will be. I'll now turn it over to Hannes to discuss key help desk and NOC features.
So this is what I want to talk about is how we actually do this at GMS. So how we do things today. So we've got capacity to handle a bulge of activity. We actually, because we're large enough, we can do this. We staff to handle 25% elasticity. So, I mean, you can count on a server going down somewhere pretty much any time during the day. So we're staffed to be able to handle that. We forecast what we expect to see, and then we staff and schedule to handle a 25% burst in activity. We have plans for coverage if our techs are off sick. Because again, we've got a larger team. So we have an auxiliary support team that we can reach out to and call into play when we need to. Our after hours coverage doesn't lead to churn. Again, because we've got a large enough team, we hire people who actually want to work the evening shifts, the weekend shifts, the after hours shifts. We do overnight shifts. We do a combination of some full-time and part-time people. So we have people working maybe the shifts that nobody internally would want, but that's when it actually works for them. So we're able to keep those after hours, weekends, overnight scheduled, and keep the employees happy because that's when they want to be working. We've also got detailed SOPs for everything. We've documented all of our best business practices for our help desk support, our NOC support, our customer success team. We're actually now being asked by some of the MSPs that we work with to document best practices for them. Because this is all something that they share, and they see that we are a very process-oriented organization because we need to have consistency. When you've got a larger team, you really live or die by how consistently the weakest member of the team has to be able to be successful. And so we have documented everything like crazy and do extensive new employee training when they start, and that continues through to all the way through their career with GMS. And I'm going to circle back on the point that Randy made earlier. He mentioned having about a team of about 7 to 10 people. And what we actually do is have primary groups. So we have a large group of mentors who can actually support our MSPs end users. But what we've done is created a primary group that would become more familiar with the environment. So we'll create that group based upon what we understand about the MSP's environment. Like some are maybe more Mac heavy, some have more VM or cloudware activity. So we'll take the team and build a primary group based on what we know that environment looks like. And how it works is that we have them first in the queues, essentially, for the phone calls, for the chats, for the tickets. And so the routing would all look to see if anybody in the primary group is available. And if so, they get the activity. And then if they're not available, it will go to the pool. And it does all of that in real time. It doesn't look for one and then see if someone else is around. It routes, sends it to the best person in real time so that we're both creating familiarity. So we see that, the same group of mentors handle about 80% of the activity during any of the MSPs that we work with primary business hours. But then the other 20% helps us protect the SLA. It's kind of best of both worlds, the way that we've got this set up. We have auditing trails. So we've got basically all aspects of an interaction are recorded. Right? The ticket for sure, all the ticket notes, all phone calls are recorded, inbound and outbound. All chat sessions are recorded, and all remote screen sessions are recorded. So if we're connecting to a server, we're connecting to an end user's workstation, every aspect of that is recorded, and it's accessible to the quality team, the compliance team. So we're looking at those things both reactively and proactively. So if we need to go and check and see something that happened or listen to a call, we do that. But we also have a quality team and compliance team that are proactively reviewing interactions in real time. Next slide, please, Joe. So to run a successful help desk and NOC, so what we see is really necessary to be able to do this successfully internally. You've got to have ticketing and RMM configuration and maintenance expertise. And that's really important to make sure that the setup is all done as optimally as possible. And this is something that we know that MSPs do struggle with, because this is something they come to us for advice on. So it's not just, hey, you're my help desk and my NOC. They also say, I don't know how to do this on my ticketing system. Or we're in their ticketing system and we see that they're not taking advantage of everything that it has to offer. They don't know how to create reports. They don't have alerts set up for items that they would want to trigger on. ACD advice is something people also come to us for. So it's, there's a lot of expertise that's really difficult to develop in-house when you're operating on a smaller scale with a smaller team. You also need processes to proactively analyze tickets. If you're not doing that, you're constantly in the position of reacting, and you're reacting to complaints. I mean, let's be honest, people reach out a lot more often to complain than they do to say, hey, thanks so much for that. So you're putting yourself in a position of reacting to problems as opposed to being able to proactively understand what you're doing for your clients and letting them know what you're doing for them. You need processes. So there's best business practice processes to continually train and coach the techs that you've got to keep them happy, to make them want to stay. You need surveying and plans to actively iterate the customer experience. Like, that's something that you really have to be getting feedback on. And again, you don't want to be reacting. You want to be reaching out for that. And you've got to constantly be looking at it so that you can consistently deliver the customer experience that you want to deliver. And then you need career paths for the tech so that you can promote from within. And again, that becomes harder to do when you've got a smaller team. It's a lot harder to have growth in that environment, but it's really crucial to keeping the good people.
So, buying and outsourcing isn't perfect every time. Okay, we're not perfect. Oh, there we go. We're not perfect, folks. Nobody is. And I say this to prospective partners all the time. We have a quality assurance process in the background because it's there to help our partners. But when we say we're not perfect, we're pretty darn good at this, folks. So I will never paint a picture that we're 100%. Nobody can ever be. But economies of scale got us pretty darn close. There's no substitute. It doesn't matter how many times you go in and out on this one for good documentation. And we work with IT glue, and we'll explain that in a few slides. But at the end of the day, we can't be successful if we don't have the information. Sure, we're good on the Microsoft stack, no problem. But how am I supposed to map a network drive or a printer if I can't find it? Any special information we need all has to be captured. So documentation is always going to be the key to a success. And it can be a long-term model for everyone. Not a problem. You just got to set it up right. And we help you set it up right. It's in our best interest to make sure that you have all the right pieces in place. We put all the right pieces in place, and we make this a success from top to bottom. Now, our 24/7 help desk, it's completely North American based. We do not outsource to any other countries. Everything stays directly here in North America, Canada, and the States. We're looking at about a sub 60-second answer time and 85% first call resolution. So that's a sub 15% escalation back to our partners. I had a conversation this morning with one of my prospective partners, and I said, look, if you give us the documentation, 85% of the time we're going to get her closed up and ready to go for you. It's not an easy metric to attain. It can be attained. attainable. But let me tell you, we see it all the time, and that's what we shoot for. So 85% first call resolution. You can choose what hours you want us to work. If you want us to do, as I mentioned a few slides back, 8 to 5, if you want us to do 5 to 8, 24/7, doesn't matter. We include all your devices and applications, so we don't tie a user to a device. A lot of other help desks in this space actually do work on a per device basis. With us, you don't have to worry about that. So you've got an employee that's in the office and she's working on a project and she says, oh, I got to pick up my daughter for soccer practice. And she slides back to get her daughter. They have dinner afterwards, and then she goes back to her project. Well, we're going to help her. She's got an issue on her home computer. We've got bi-directional integration with Autotask. That's what we use in major PSAs, from ConnectWise to BMS to Zendesk to Salesforce. We use, as I mentioned, IT Glue for our documentation. Our partners are required to use IT Glue, but it's a great documentation repository, which allows us to bi-directionally move information, or your information is stored in your IT Glue. We connect to it, have instant access to it. If we have to update anything, any information, we've got it real time, no uploading into a server and having to download and verify. It's all done real time. And as Tanis mentioned, our mentor pods are proactively and reactively looking at tickets and quality management. Those mentor pods are extremely important to us. At the end of the day, there's no surprise rate increases. We're not going to sit there and say, oh, we're going to go up by $5 a seat today. It doesn't happen like that. Our goal is to actually lower the cost down over time, and our pricing models actually allow us to do that. It's what we were mentioning a little bit earlier about utilization, and we'll get into that in just a little bit for you too. Our customizable NOC is, again, 24/7, fully North American baked. We've got what we call GMS Inside. You can put that on it's a box that you can install into your network, which spins out and grabs all the information from your network devices. We can do all your servers and all the work that you need done there, from scripting, patching, and updates. We do syslog monitoring, check for dangerous IPs, server event log monitoring, server service monitoring, bi-directional integration with your PSA is how we do all the information back and forth. So the connectors that we have set up. So it's an amazing system, and it allows us to basically have you take your eyes off your dashboard and let us work on that for you. What I find pretty amazing about our NOC is network devices are covered under this GMS Inside program, and that basically, it really doesn't matter how many network devices are in the network. You can have 15. It doesn't make a difference, like routers, switches, firewalls. We monitor all of that for the same price. Next slide for you, Dan. From our help desk models, what we talk about here is, we do help desk per user or per ticket. Per user is, I kind of equate it this way. I like the per user model for the mod pod type businesses, doctors, offices, lawyers, dental offices. It's very easy to gauge what their utilization is, how many tickets they open. It all includes all of the devices, chat, email, tickets through your PSA. It's great for clients who open tickets up all the time. Our per ticket help desk, I equate that to more of a more transient type of employee base. You've got a warehouse or a machine shop that's got 200 employees, but you don't want to pay for 200 employees that might never pick up the phone and call you. But combined, those 200 employees will probably drive about 50, 60 tickets a month. That's great. And it covers all the devices and all the named users that are eligible within that network. You can spread it across your low usage clients, and it's great for after hours and weekends. You can even do a hybrid of both models if you'd like. I've got partners who say, you know what, Randy, I've got 5 clients that would be really great for your per user model, but I got a couple of restaurants that with point of sale, I think they'd be good for the per ticket. No problem. We can do a hybrid of both models for you. Very easy to do. We can talk to us about that, like no issue. Our outsourced NOC models, it's customizable for you. Alert monitoring, filtering. We do network devices, network behavior monitoring, steady state, remediation, customizable escalation procedures are all within our NOC. We do an a la carte where you can engage us for specific functions. Maybe you only want us to do scripting or patching. Maybe you want us to do just a per ticket, which you can kind of look at as almost like a level 3 premium help desk, where we get alerts from your RMM and we remediate those and put them back to steady state, basically put a Band-Aid on them and send it back to you for full remediation. We've got partners who love that model. If you, like I said, if you want to do patching, you can just do patching based off of a customized schedule. So what we've done is designed the NOC to be a customizable opportunity for you. What you need the NOC to be is what we will be. So it's not all or nothing. It's let's customize it make it so for our business, and then off we go on to the next. And then the next client you bring on, hey, Randy, got another client, want to put them in NOC, same type of services. So Danny, I'll hand this over to you.
Thank you, sir. And I just wanted to piggyback off of something Randy mentioned earlier in terms of documentation. In conjunction with documentation, what helps to enable you to provide an excellent quality of service from a help desk and NOC standpoint is certification. Certification is key as we all work in a rapidly evolving industry, and keeping abreast of all the latest and greatest technologies will lend a hand in terms of bringing up that first touch remediation rate and percentage that every MSP strives for. At GMS, we mandate that each technician takes 2 courses per annum. And as a result, on average, our techs, our support engineers carry 13 certifications, ranging anywhere from CompTIA A+ to CCNA, MSCE, and Office 365, and the list goes on. We're also HIPAA and PCI compliant. Okay, so let's talk about some of the quality assurance processes we have in place. Our main, in the next slide, our main objective is to align our service delivery with our partners and their respective business goals. So in conjunction with helping them bolster their support offering, we do this by taking an aggressive approach in terms of monitoring our own performance. We do things like we perform daily ticket reviews. We do random spot checks to keep our folks honest. We offer customer surveys to measure feedback and overall satisfaction. And our guarantee is that you as an MSP aren't locked into a contract. And if we're not meeting especially if we're not meeting our quality standards, we allow for folks to opt out of a contract, if you will. But we're pretty confident that we will be meeting all these standards due to all the instruments that we've implemented, if you will. I'll now pass it back on to Randy and have him discuss some of the feedback that we're getting from our current MSP partners as a result of the optimal level of service that we are providing on their behalf.
Thanks, Danny. I'm not going to read this slide. I'm going to let your folks look at it because it is a little wordy, but I want to tell you a little quick story. I had a partner in Southern California, and he said to me that he had a employee that he had for a couple of months, and the employee had said to him, this was in January, he said, I'm going to be leaving. I'm going to give you my 2 weeks notice. And the partner, he was a little bit shocked by it, said, okay, fine, started the search for his new technician. Well, lo and behold, within about 3 hours of him getting the initial I'm leaving discussion, the technician up and left. And he was out on his own. And he said, if I didn't have your help desk in the background, taking those phone calls for me, I would have been up a creek. And I said to him, I said, well, and how did we do? He said, outstanding. Outstanding. He says, you guys take the time, you read, into the situation, you do things that I wouldn't even think of doing. And I always believe, folks, it's easier to fix a problem backwards. What is it not as opposed to what is it? So we get feedback from our partners all the time. We actually, and it's amazing, throughout the company, we get what they call kudos. And it'll come into our customer success team, and they'll forward it to all the employees in the company. And it's so nice to see, the good words that our partners are saying about us, how they can't live without us, and how they should have made this decision earlier. At the end of the day, it's a partnership, but we wear your hat, and we wear your uniform, and we're actually there to support you and your customers. As an MSP, I'm sure you face this all the time. You only hear about the bad. You never hear about the good. Well, it's nice to say that we actually hear about the good and about our mentor teams. And it's always a pleasure to be able to see those emails and see what the people are saying about us. So we got lots of good stuff that people do comment on. So how does it work? How do we integrate this all together? How do we make GMS Live Expert be part of your world? Well, what we do is, with us, you get 24/7 support through phone, through email, through chat, and all your reporting. We use IT Glue for the documentation. We've got the bi-directional connectors with Autotask, ConnectWise, Salesforce, Zendesk, and BMS, which is Kaseya's ticketing system. If you have a proprietary ticketing system that a ticketing system that we don't have recognized, we can talk about integration into that system as well. So it's not off the table. There are costs associated with actually building a connector, but we're very good about saying, you know what, if we don't have the connector, we see the volume, and you know what, we need to build one, we will. And we also do all the reporting through your PSA. So you get reports, and our partnerships are very, very good. You get a partner development manager. So basically, Danny and myself kind of wear two hats. Once, from our business development, partner development roles to partner manager. So what we basically do is when you sign up with GMS, you actually have Danny and I for the entire tenure of your partnership. And that's fantastic for us because at the end of the day, we want to see our partners grow. What we do is we basically give you, through onboarding, we meet with you every single week, and you have an onboarding manager who's going to go through all these steps to get you live and ready to go. And we meet every week to make sure all the points that we're supposed to be getting to are done, all the checks and balances. Once that's completed and in place, we eventually move you over to a customer success team. And then I'm part of that customer success team, and we get to grow our business together. That success team also goes through your reports every week and top ticket drivers, escalations, quality incidents, anything of that nature. Plus you have a live partner support line to support you as well. So there are so many facets of our business. It's not I paid for this help desk support. What am I getting and who am I talking to? I always say you buy GMS, you're actually buying an entire management team. So the workflow overview takes a look at the phone call. The end user calls, they chat, they open up a ticket through email. We actually have a back-end system. It's very cool. So let's just say Tony Payroll is going to call in from ABC Medical. As soon as he does, there's a set of pop screens that happen for your mentor team. Initially, we see the call coming in through the caller ID. We'll get a list of all the folks. So let's say ABC Medical will pop up. We'll click on the drop down for Tony's name. Once we click on that, it'll fire off another screen, which will show us all of Tony's information and IT glue. And another screen is going to pop open that shows us all the tickets that Tony's opened. So literally, folks, in 5 seconds of the call coming in, we know who's calling, where they're calling from, got your KB articles, history, and information all in about 5 seconds. We have the integration with the PSA, so we're able to move information back and forth between our two ticketing systems, which capture unique ticket IDs and time entries, issues, sub-issues, statuses, ticket notes, all flow between our auto task board to our partner's auto task board. Everything is reported back to you, and at the end of the day, you got a happy customer. Round trip on those tickets, the average handle time, we look at about 20 minutes average handle time. Hands-on keys between 15 to 17 minutes, and a little bit of time to cool down, then wrap up the notes on the ticket. And those tickets are available to you anytime. You can view them. They're right in your dashboard, and then we report back to you every month. Dan, I'll let you speak to this slide because this is your baby.
Yeah, perfect. So speaking of dashboard, this is a recent feature that we've released as part of the service. But basically what we put together is a web-based reporting engine where you can access any of your client's data whenever you wish. So we bring all the systems together into this one centralized component. So from phone to chat to ticket histories and emails that flow through there, any quality incidents, as Randy mentioned, all goes into this one dashboard, so you can get a glance of each of your customers and your account as a whole. We've had so far some pretty positive feedback about the dashboard. A few of our partners are even using it as part of their sales process, and certainly as part of their QBRs. So a lot of it's pretty much everything you need in one place to report on the experience. And going forward, we see this as the main hub for communications. So everything's nice and centrally organized. So we're super excited about this and really looking forward to continue to expand upon it. And with that, we will wrap it up. So we have some contact information there, sales@globalmentoring.com. Our website, of course, is gmsliveexpert.com. That calculator that Randy mentioned is gmsliveexpert.com/calculator. That helps you run your numbers to build versus buy your help desk. We have both our US and Canadian phone numbers there on the screen, and we look forward to getting in touch with you. And with that, Steve, let's open it up for some questions.
Let's. So I think the one question everyone's dying to know, you know what it's going to be. What's it cost us to work with GMS Live Expert?
Good question. Danny, Randy, you guys want to take that?
Sure. We work on a utilization component, folks. Really, at the end of the day, it's what's your volume, and how many tickets are we going to be opening? So the factor what we look at is about 40%. So essentially, what we're saying is, for every 100 users that you give us, so the Bobs, the Sallys, the Tonys, the Joes, whoever. If you give us 100 users, we should be opening up about 40 incidents per those 100 users. Some rough numbers, we're sitting at about $22 per user. And we like to start at about 50 end users, which we spread out over your client base. So it doesn't have to be one location with 50 users. It can be, one location's got 20 users, another one that's got 5, another one's got 15. And so if you want to determine the factor of tickets, take the number of users you give me, multiply it by 0.4, and that's the volume of tickets we should see from that combined population. So about $22.
That's per month, right?
That's per month. Yeah, $22 per user per month. Or if you're looking at doing a straight per ticket block, our threshold is usually between 1 to 24 tickets per month is $57 a ticket. Once you hit the threshold of 25 tickets or more, we drop it down to 52. If you start at 52 tickets, or 25 tickets, it's $52 a ticket times your 25 tickets per month. Spread out over the entire client base. As long as they're a named registered user, we'll support them.
Awesome.
So we've seen a lot of traction with the per ticket option, because as Randy mentioned, it helps to lower the total cost of support delivery. So you're able to spread it across 10, 12, 15 clients that call occasionally, or even just to fill in your own after-hours support or whatever it might be to fill in the gaps that you might have.
And I mean, let's be honest. I mean, 25 tickets, $52 a ticket. Now, it doesn't matter if this is for 2 users or for 2,000 end users. We're paying per ticket.
Correct.
So if we decide to use this for after hours, weekends, holidays, that type of thing, basically, if our phone system rolls it over to you, then that's when it's doing its thing.
Right. And there's no price difference for after hours tickets versus business tickets. It's the same price.
And let's see, with this, is that if I bought the 25 tickets, is it like use it or lose it for the month?
Correct. Yeah. So what we do is we sign on with the expectation of a certain number of tickets, but if that changes, if you're like 2-3 months go by and you're underutilizing those tickets, then we're going to change the package. We don't want to waste money.
Oh, we appreciate that. So now let's look at it from a different perspective. What if we want to make you our level 3 tech support? Obviously, you can't go on site, but if we're stuck on something, can we escalate a ticket to you?
Tanis, you want to handle that one?
Sure. Give me the tough ones. Theoretically, yeah. I mean, there's no harm in asking, right? If it's level 3, it's with outside the scope of help desk. But we do project work. Look, we have people with other levels of knowledge, and we've certainly done that and continue to do that. Like we'll have an MSP. A lot of times, say with Mac knowledge, people don't have Mac knowledge. Like one time we had this really weird Excel thing, and the MSP was like, well, like, don't give it to me. I can't figure it out. Like, you guys are all I've got. If you can't figure it out, I've got nothing. I've got to go to Microsoft. So we've done that. I mean, it's not, truth be told, it's not really the GMS Live Expert Service. I mean, we do help desk and NOC. We don't necessarily take level 3 issues that are kind of one-offs. We do projects. But if we're working with you and you need help with something, of course we're going to try to help you.
Okay.
And that's just, we may not always 100% be able to, and we may not be able to do it certainly for your help desk pricing, but we would always try.
Now, and of course I have to sneeze now, right?
Bless you.
Okay.
There we go.
Thank you. Cliff wants to know if the 22 per user per month is 24/7. I believe it's yes.
Yep, 365.
Even Christmas.
Even Christmas and Hanukkah.
Perfect. Is there a sliding scale on pricing per user? Like, once we hit 100 or 1,000 or whatever?
No, it's based on the calculation of tickets. So we would work with the partner to figure out the lowest possible structure, whether it's a blend of some on per ticket, again, some on per user, find that mix. In both cases, it covers all their devices. So we need to look at the environment.
Can we start with just like 10 users if we really wanted to? Like, okay. Because I saw the 22 per user a month when doing 50 or more. And then I saw Danny put in the chat 26 a user when it's lower user volume. So you'll do lower volume. It just makes more sense financially if you have 50 or more to onboard.
Correct. Yep.
And then Raj, the ticket price is instead of. So if you want more or less unlimited users and you're just paying for the number of tickets, is that right, guys? So we can pay 57 or 52, depending on how many tickets you do a month, per ticket. And it doesn't matter if you have 2,000 users, as long as they are a named user that you've given GMS the name of the end user that would be calling. They will take care of that person. So then you're not paying 22 or whatever per user. You're just paying the per ticket price.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's kind of like that.
Oh, go ahead, Randy.
I was going to say, it's kind of like that example that I use where, you've got a warehouse that's got all these people in it, but they might never phone you. So you don't want to pay for all those people, but, combined as a population, they might open, 50, 60 tickets. Better to buy a per ticket block for that. Or it's restaurants. You have, a ton of restaurants that have managers or assistant managers that might want to call in. You don't want to pay for the cooks and the busboys and all of that. They've got an issue. You just want to pay for the people. That's a good per ticket model.
Yeah.
Or if you've got your RMM so finely tuned that you don't have that many user-generated tickets created per month, maybe you do have 350 users, endpoints, whatever you want to call it, that you're managing, but maybe you only have like 20 to 30 user-generated tickets being created a month from your entire client base. That is where the per-ticket pricing I could see being very beneficial.
Yeah. Correct.
Now, Errol says that many of the viewers here are a 1 or 2 person MSP. Their clients are used to getting very fast service from the same person every time. The same 1 or 2 people they can trust. So when their clients call in, they know the problem will be solved quickly and the client can move on running their business. What does it look like for the help desk from GMS to support my clients? Like, do I have, like, how many people are on your help desk team overall again? Ballpark?
So we have 125 employees. And then to Tanis's point earlier, we assign 7 to 10 mentors, as we call them, technicians, to your account as the primary line of defense. So we build that familiarity within those 7 to 10. And then if there's a situation where we're seeing high call volume, then it might roll over to a secondary group.
So that's good, because that makes it feel like I've grown, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like it's outsourced, because it's, he's got 7 to 10 people that I'm consistently working with over and over.
And it helps us build familiarity with that environment too, so that we can. We do know what server you're talking about, and we can resolve things quickly. And, we have found that when people have started working with GMS, well, they might have had the same couple of people answering the phone. They weren't able to answer the phone as quickly as we can, because if you've got 2 people and you're in 2 calls and you get a third, you're done. So we found one MSP that we worked with really prided themselves on answering the phone in less than 60 seconds, but they weren't resolving the issue. They were answering the phone in less than 60 seconds, and then somebody was having to call the user back. So this way you're getting through quickly, and you're getting through to a technician.
Gotcha. And something too, I think we should point out, Tanis, is at the end of the day, everybody, or whenever somebody phones in or chats, whoever answers that chat or that phone call is going to fix the problem. There's no triaging it to somebody else to punt it over. They're the ones who are going to fix the problem. So they're not going into a queue for somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point.
Now Cliff brought up, if we're doing per user, is it unlimited? And I think the real answer is no, because you're kind of expecting that 40% utilization mark. So is that a firm 40%? Like, what if, and we're just playing the what if game. These are all hypothetical questions. What if Microsoft releases an update, which they would never do this, that breaks the computers for all of them? Obviously you're probably going to be inundated with calls on that day. Does that mean every client's going to get overage charges if so that is one of those like unforeseen circumstances where you might let something like that slide because of
and also, if it's one day, is it really going to dramatically impact the utilization, which is based upon a month? And if last month you were, say, at 38% and this month you're at 42%, you're not getting an invoice for going 2% over. And I don't want to say, hey, it's really unlimited. We call it 40%, but it's really unlimited. But you'd certainly be having conversations with your customer success team before you'd start saying any overage charges or anything like that. Because ultimately we do have to be paid for the work that we're, delivering. And you might have one client site that's a little unstable and the rest are not. So that's also balanced out across your client base. Mm-hmm. And you may have some noisier users, but again, if everybody else isn't putting in a ton of tickets, that all does actually balance itself out quite nicely most of the time. Yeah. You can have a bad month, and it's, we really look at the trends to see where we are consistently.
So it sounds like more or less you're going to work with us before you start hitting us with bills, because if our utilization is consistently bad, we probably need some mentoring anyway with getting that in order, because if we're hitting 50 to 70% utilization, something is not configured correctly somewhere.
Yeah.
Or we need to start training our clients better.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's kind of what I was talking about before, Steve. At the end of the day, like with our teams, we meet with you every week for the first 4 months of your partnership. We meet every week. So if the numbers are climbing, you're going to know way ahead of time that the numbers have been climbing, and we're going to do our best to help you get those numbers down. So there's no surprises. It's not like, you get your cell phone bill and you just went over your data by 5 gigs and you just got blown away by $100. It doesn't happen that way with us, because we sit there, we actually work with you, and what your utilization is as we progress through this partnership.
So something else that Errol asked is, he said, can you run us through what the support process looks like from start to finish for a ticket?
Sure. And because there are multiple ways that a ticket can originate, by one of your end users emailing you for support. So in that scenario, my assumption is that that's going to create a ticket within your ticket system. Through the integration, GMS would get that ticket. Our process would be for one of our mentors to take the ticket, accept the ticket. As soon as they accept the ticket, you're going to see that we're working that ticket. So your ticket's going to be updated in near to real time as we're updating the ticket. So in that scenario, depends on the type of ticket, but let's say we've got to call the user back on the ticket. So we do a call out, hopefully reach the user. If we didn't, we'd leave a voicemail and then follow up with an email for that user. And then that user would get emails the subsequent days to reach out back to us on that ticket. If it's something that we could do the work on the spot, it's a new user creation request, and the person who put the ticket in is authorized to make that type of request. One of the first, that would really be one of the first things we would do, is make sure the person who put this ticket in is authorized to ask for the work that they're asking to be done, create the accounts, reach back out to the person who made the request, let them know it's done. And that's something that we do both via a phone call and via updating the ticket notes. And then any credentials that we would send, we use a tool called Send Safely to send that. It's a secure link that we embed in all the ticket notes. So that's if we're getting a ticket that's originated via email. If a user's coming into chat for support, that immediately creates a ticket. Our SLA for chat is within 30 seconds, so we're working with the user right away. And, checking IT glue, seeing what documentation we require for this, connecting either to the workstation or the server as relevant. The chat transcript automatically gets added to the ticket. So again, you're seeing the things that we're doing in the ticket in real time. If it's a phone call, we actually use Autotask as our ticketing system, but we've built a pop-up that comes up to streamline. It's kind of a wizard, really, that takes us through the ticketing process to make it faster. It's got a link to their IT glue. It's got a page with the history of all of this user's tickets, all of the tickets for that client base. We can search within our ticket system for tickets. We can search within the MSP's ticket system for tickets. So we're seeing if there's already a ticket open for an issue. We're looking at previous tickets on this, so we know where to really take it. And again, same sort of process. As soon as we start working at the MSP's ticket is updated and we're using IT glue to access the documentation, using the MSP's RMM to get connected to wherever it is that we need to get connected. And again, you're seeing this all in your ticket and close to real time. If we have to, if it's something that's not resolvable by the help desk, we escalate the ticket. If it's a critical escalation, so they cannot work, we call out on those tickets. We also talk to most of the MSPs that we work with today in Microsoft Teams versus making phone calls. They really, we love it. They're loving it. So it really helps us work together as one cohesive team. So if we need information on a ticket and we're working with the MSP on Teams, we'd be reaching out there too. And not just making phone calls, because that's just generally a lot easier to get a hold of people.
And just to help Tanis complete that picture she just painted, and to give you a sense with regards to some metrics, when folks call into our service desk, we have like 80% of the time we will answer it in sub 60 seconds, sub 90 seconds. When they start up a live chat session, 80% of the time it's sub 30 seconds, and our SLA around a ticket or email-based support request is 2 hours. So just want you folks to be cognizant of that. So if a ticket or a support request is pretty critical, then they should call or either start up a live chat session. If it's something that's, I don't want to say benign, but if it's something that's not that critical, then yes, then shoot off an email or start up a ticket, if you will.
Excellent. All right, so Raj wants to know.
What's Gua? I'm afraid to ask as well.
Yeah.
What was that? I'm sorry.
I've seen that a couple of times. If someone wants to know if there's a Shabos Goy plan.
Can I address that one for you?
Sure.
Okay, so Jewish people who are Orthodox are not allowed to, after sunset, answer. They're not allowed to do any work whatsoever. Answer the phone, nothing. It's a day of rest. So the word goy is a word for a non-Jewish person. So that's what he's asking. If there's somebody plan that could basically work from Friday night until Saturday night, sundown, when they can start taking calls and start getting back into business once again. That's what that means.
Ah, okay. Makes sense.
I like it. I think we have a new package.
Yeah. I mean, we've been calling it after hours up until now, but sure, it can be very specific after hours.
All right. I like it. If you guys don't put together a package for that, maybe I will.
But I have to tell you guys, this is the funniest thing that question came up, because I have a partner in New York City, or a prospective partner in New York City, that asked me that exact same question, and because he cannot work from Friday, because what he normally does is people leave him a voicemail message, he'll return that call on Saturday evening or Sunday. And I said to him, well, you don't have to worry about that, because if you got GMS on the back, we're going to answer that call right away. He goes, that's why I need you. So funny that came up.
All right. So, all right, I'm telling you, if you don't do it, I'm going to make it happen. All right, Raj. Raj wants to know, do you support VoIP services?
To a point, as best as we can remotely.
Okay.
And to be like most of the time, restarting the phone fixes it, but people don't do it. So I would say about 80% of the time you can resolve the issue with a phone reset. So it's something that's within our scope, that's in our best effort, but because we can't resolve 100% of everything remotely, and we don't get into the whole phone configuration. But if we have, something in IT Glue explaining how the phone works, because sometimes somebody say, well, my phone isn't ringing and we don't know what that phone looks like, but there's a pretty good chance you put it on silent mode if you can call out. So how do we turn it off silent mode? So those types of things we do. So if it's documented, yeah. It's, the phone lines and things like that are really outside of the realm of scope for us, but we can certainly identify if the user's having an issue with the phone or there's an issue with the phone service in itself.
Excellent. And do you provide any backup testing or file restores?
That's really
that's our job, right?
That's side of the realm of really help desk support, because that's kind of getting into network configuration and the network setup. And so the MSP is really responsible for making sure that the backup is running. That said, do we help end users try to get something from a backup? Sure. We're not really responsible for ensuring that the backup is running properly. The NOC would let you know if there was a failure with the backup, and try to bring back, try to restore. But from a help desk perspective, we assist the users, and we escalate if there was an issue with the actual backup itself, because that's really getting into server configuration.
And the NOC does not do server configuration either, right? Or do they, to a sense, to make sure it's configured in a way that you want it to be best practice for your NOC engineers, right?
Yeah. We do in sort of in the sense of giving feedback of how the server should be set up, but the server configuration is either the MSP or it's something that we're doing for them on a project basis. But it's not, NOC responds to, NOC monitors and responds to alerts and remediates.
Okay.
NOC isn't really another network engineer that you've added to your team, but we certainly provide feedback on what needs to be done to stabilize environments and how things should be configured, because we don't want to see all those alerts. So,
Sure.
if you've got it set up incorrectly, it's only in our best interest to make sure that we can work with you to get it configured properly.
Excellent. And Raj posted I think it feels like he posted it again. Would you do a test restore to verify a backup is working? And I believe the best answer is no, that's your job. But in a nicer way when you say so. All right, let's see here. Raj wants to know, how does he reach out to you guys to learn more? I think Raj is interested in getting some of your services. And I do want to say, if you're a member of MSP webinars, later on today or tomorrow at the latest, I should have details on how you can get a special vendor deal from GMS. We're doing, I believe you said 50% off the onboarding.
Correct. Yep.
Now,
the best way to get in touch. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
The best way to get in touch. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, the best way to get in touch, Raj, is sales@globalmentoring.com. So GLOBAL mentoring.com. I'll put it in chat here too.
Perfect.
And maybe
Now,
mention MSP webinar so we know to offer that.
Yeah, we'll come up with a special handshake or something for those people too. It'll be good. So with that said, we didn't even talk about onboarding costs. I don't think anybody thought to ask about that. What is a typical onboarding fee?
Danny, do you want to talk through the process and the fee?
Sure. So we have a one-time fee, a one-time only fee of $2,500, and that covers 30 to 45 days that we take to onboard each MSP client, which includes about a week or so to provision a localized DID for you that can either be sent to your clients or can be sort of put within your current phone system. Your IVR will configure it so it's routing to us. We need another week to provision the live chat option for your clients. That's 100% white labeled, includes your logo being embedded in it, and a couple weeks to marry both our ticketing solution to your ticketing solution from a bi-directional standpoint. So 2,500, and as a number of folks have mentioned today, we are offering that for half price. $1,250, and again, I do want to highlight that it's a one-time fee, so that covers you for the lifetime of your partnership with us. A lot of our competitors will charge $200, $300 setup per customer, so that sort of adds up, right? So if they have 20 customers, 30 customers, you can see the difference there.
Awesome. Very good. Thank you for that. IT Glue, is that just included in the cost, or are we paying you extra for that? How's that work?
You pay IT Glue directly. A lot of folks that we partner up with actually already are IT Glue partners. But for the folks that don't have IT Glue in place, we absolutely need documentation. As I think Randy mentioned earlier, it's critical to us being successful. It basically sets us up for success, right? We're as good as the documentation we receive.
Sure.
What we've done with IT Glue actually is cooked up a deal with them whereby for $75 a month, you get a license from them. This is something they do not offer regular folks. So if you wanted to purchase IT Glue without a partnership with us, their minimum is a 5-user license for a couple $100 a month. But what we've done is allowed for them to offer one license and no setup fee for our partners. I think the setup fee is around $700 as well. So that's been waived for anyone that uses GMS Live Expert. But we don't make any money off of it. It's you pay them directly as well. And I think someone mentioned, so we also have the ability to leverage other, I think Confluence is another one that some folks are starting to adopt. So you can use Confluence. Anything else? We're working on Passportal. We haven't, we're not getting we love those guys, but we're not getting the response we want from them right now. So that's something that I would say is on our roadmap.
Yeah,
I would love to put you
on an integration.
I would love to put you in touch with IT Boost if you've not yet reached out to them.
Yeah,
I'm talking to them. Yeah.
The guys over there are fantastic, and in fact, they have a vendor deal. Normally, it's $50 per user, minimum 5 users for IT Boost. They have waived the 5-user minimum for MSP Webinars members. So, obviously, your deal with IT Glue, $75 is that's $20 off. Really, is what it's coming down to because they charge minimum $95. But if someone can get documentation for a better price somewhere else and it actually works, I say go for it. So, Dan, we can chat offline if you need me to put you in touch with anybody over there. I'll be happy to make that introduction.
Perfect. Yeah, I think I've started conversations there, but definitely a poke would help. That would be awesome.
Perfect. So, IT Glue isn't necessarily mandatory, but if we want to use IT Glue, we have to use our own licensing and then set up Glue Connect where you have access to our customer data. I think is the technical term that the people here might be looking for.
Well, I would say, Steve, it is mandatory today. We don't have everything in place. So if partners or prospective partners want to use GMS, they have to use IT Glue right now. We're in the, like as Danny and Tanis has said, we're in, negotiations with other companies.
Or Confluence.
Or Confluence. But yeah, I would say IT Glue is it for now.
Okay.
But I'm not going to say too much about this because it's new, and I'm going to be surprised maybe to some of the people in the meeting. We are doing a pilot for an application that would effectively search multiple knowledge bases for us.
Nice.
I would search tickets. I'm really excited about it, but we haven't started the pilot yet. We're still in the planning phases of it. So I don't want to yet say, it's not going to matter. Content can be anywhere, but that's what we're hoping to achieve with this.
So there's plans, but we need to sign up with the knowledge of, here's what we can do today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would say is important.
Yeah. And then with knowing that, we don't necessarily want people to have only one option, and we're working towards that. But we've also got to make sure that when the phone rings, that we can find information quickly and consistently, and it's where it's meant to be. And so there's that. And it's your end user that's on the other end of the phone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's for them. It's for that customer experience that we don't want to say. If we spread ourselves too thinly, we're going to have difficulty working efficiently and consistently. And it's your end users that would be the ones that would suffer as a result. And that's what we don't want to risk that customer experience.
And I think we can all appreciate that. Now, besides IT Glue, the one-time onboarding, and then, whether we do per user, per ticket, or hybrid, are there any other tools or costs that we need to keep in mind? Like, do we have to have a PSA? Do we have to
everyone needs an RMM and a PSA.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what PSAs do you support today?
Autotask, ConnectWise, Salesforce, Zendesk, and BMS, which is Kaseya's ticketing system, which can be purchased separately outside of Kaseya's actual RMM.
What about RMMs? What do you support today?
We're vendor agnostic from that approach.
All of them.
Yeah.
We just need the remote access feature.
Yeah.
So never mind. I'm not going to poke any RMMs today.
unless it's an RMM without remote access or remote control capabilities.
What if the remote control doesn't work consistently?
We actually can use LogMe or TeamViewer as well. So it's not mandatory.
At no additional cost.
Right. So it's not mandatory, but best practices say have the RMM. But for users who might be off, they're not at work, they're at home, and they're not going to have that on their home computer. If that's what we're happy to be working with them on, because a ticket's a ticket no matter what. We can use LogMe or TeamViewer. It's not a problem.
Now, if we have Screen Connect, would you consider using that? You're good with that? Okay.
Yeah. And in that instance, Steve, we certainly can default back to something like TeamViewer, but then if that's happening, then that's something that we want to work with the MSP to get addressed, because again, who's suffering as a result of that? If you've got an end user that's used to the MSP being able to connect, they expect, when it works consistently, you're connected so quickly, and then that's their expectation. And then if you've got to connect, if you try that and that fails, and then you've got to connect with something else, then you've got an end user saying, well, what the heck, why is this taking so long? And so if it's happening consistently, we really want to work with the MSP to make sure that the tools are set up optimally so that we can connect. And it's not so much, this is our requirement for you. That's just what we have to do to give your end users the experience that they need.
Yeah, I mean, if you want your end users to feel like they're working with just somebody else on your team.
Yeah.
And as I say you, I'm talking to the MSP that is watching this video. Then it's important that you, the MSP, is able to set GMS Live Expert up for success. And I think that's a very reasonable expectation. Mm-hmm. I'll say that a long time ago, I mean, I've said it plenty of times in almost all of my webinars. I have used like every PSA, every RMM at least twice. I'm that guy, okay? Don't be that guy, first of all. Second of all, there was a long time ago when there was a company called Zenith Infotech. This was before they got bought out and changed their name to Continuum, for those of you that have heard of Continuum. So when I was on Zenith Infotech, I used their help desk and their NOC. I thought I was being all, smart and savvy and giving myself the opportunity to go out and do more business operation type stuff instead of have you tried turning it off and back on type stuff. And they escalated so many tickets back to me that I fired them as a service provider. And then shortly after that, I did try GMS Live Expert. And the same thing happened there. And guess what? It's not because GMS or Zenith was bad. It's not because GMS was bad, okay? It's because I had like 5% of the network documented at the time because, if I'm the only guy in my MSP, I've got everything I need right here. I don't need to document, right? Mm-hmm. Wrong. If you're going to be bringing on an outsourced help desk or an outsourced NOC or a combination, you absolutely have to have everything written down. You need to have an SOP for how the computer should be rebooted if it's anything outside of the ordinary. There was a client that on their server, they had the QuickBooks, the QuickBooks database server. And for whatever reason, it didn't always appear on the end user workstations unless that database server was running. And sometimes the database server wouldn't start correctly with the server. So after the server got booted up, you'd have to go in and make sure the QuickBooks database server was running. If it wasn't, start it up manually. And you had to click that stupid little button to scan all the folders. And it was just a process. And you have to document that, or else the guys over at GMS, they're not mind readers, okay? I mean, they know how to do their jobs, but they don't know your customer's network the same way that you do.
And not just to build on that, not just for an outsourced help desk and NOC like us, but also for new employees that you bring on. Yeah. You want them spinning their wheels, and that's one thing, but it's one of the most scarcest resources, as Randy said, is your employees' time. So empower them to do good work.
Yes. A few more questions, and then I think we'll be able to wrap it up here. I'm going to save the hardest one for last. Antivirus, for example. Many different MSPs are using many different antivirus products. So are your people trained to support all the different products? Or if it's something like a policy on the AV needs updated, is that where you're going to escalate it back to us because we need to modify the AV policy?
Tennis, that'd be a good one for you if you're.
You know what? I didn't hear.
I'm sorry.
The question.
So antivirus. Some people might use Bitdefender, Sophos.
Yeah, okay.
There's dozens.
Yeah.
So if it seems as though the antivirus policy is what's preventing something from working correctly for an end user, is that something that you're going to log on to the admin portal of the antivirus and fix? Or is that something you're going to escalate to us, the MSP, to update the policies?
Okay. It's within scope for us to do, and that's something that we work out during the onboarding process, because some MSPs don't want us to do absolutely everything that's within scope, and some, in that kind of case, I would say if that's impacting multiple users, that's something that we would want to have a conversation with the MSP about before we did, but it wouldn't mean we wouldn't do it. It would just mean we would check in and get approval. if that was something that hadn't come up already and we didn't know that we could. So with approval, yes, that's something that we could do.
Perfect. How trained are your techs with, well, for crying out loud, Errol, I'm not asking an Intune question. All right. How trained are your techs with Office 365 or Azure?
Office 365 we do all day, every day.
Okay.
Inside and out, like admin and end user using a good percentage of what we do every day. We support Azure environments. Now, when you're looking at supporting that type of environment, what Help Desk will do, like we're not resetting up your server. We're not doing server configuration. We're assisting users who are having difficulty connecting. So we're dealing with, and in all the virtual environments, we're dealing with stuck sessions. We're looking at the root cause as to why they couldn't get on there in the first place. Because are there people who are just Xing out and not logging out properly, and do we need to boot a whole bunch of people? So we're dealing with that. Oftentimes it's connectivity issues that we're really, and then or it's slow, or I can't access this, or this isn't running right. Restarting services running on an RDS or an Azure environment, but we're not, unless you're asking us to do it as a project, we're not setting up your Azure environment. We're supporting users working on an Azure environment.
Errol, nobody ever cares what the Office 365 secure score is. Do you even know, I'll ask you do you even know what an Office 365 secure score is? I didn't until Errol brought it up a few months ago. It's okay if you say no.
No, I'm Googling it right now secretly.
So if you guys use Office 365, Errol, can you put in the chat, what is that URL that you can go to this URL and see what your secure score is? And it's basically showing you how secure your user account is in Office 365 from whatever. You poor guys. Errol and his silly questions. Are you working with any of the security vendors, whether it's Vigilance, SentinelOne, NetWatcher, to where maybe they're notifying you of like a big ransomware attack or something like that, so that way you know what to be watching for? You let us know if we need to make some changes to security, etc.
That's a good question. Not really working directly with them, but we are monitoring what's going on in terms of outages regularly. And so when there is an outage, we're notifying our user base and letting them know. And if there's a fix for it, we're telling them what the fix is. We're oftentimes, because the user base is large, we're seeing it too. So we're dealing with it, and then proactively reaching out to the MSP base.
Excellent.
And I like the secure store tip. I'm looking into that. We weren't using it before. It sounds like something we're going to take a look at.
So I tease Errol a lot. I better give you guys some context. Errol is like really big into the whole Microsoft environments, everything. He wants to be fully ingrained into Microsoft. If he could use Intune as his RMM, and I don't know, Excel as his PSA, I don't know what he would use. Maybe Dynamics CRM. He probably would. So he's always going to ask kooky questions to every vendor about Intune and other things like that.
Well, that's okay. We're being honest with our answers when the answer is no.
But I will say, if you are an MSP, he put if you're an MSP and the score, the secure score is below 200, you should rethink life. The world average is 30. I don't know if 200 is I don't know. But you can go to securescore.office.com if you're an Office 365 user, and you can check your secure score. All right, so IT Glue, you mentioned that you had a deal with them, $75. What are they getting for $75? You'll notice they have 3 different, we'll call it good, better, and best.
Mm-hmm.
Are they getting 5 licenses, or are they getting 1? Which type of account are they getting? Good, better, or best?
Well, they're getting 1 admin license, and then you can set up as many light licenses as you want because those are free.
Right. Yes. So light users, you can set up as many as you want with IT Glue. Those are free. A light user can access up to 3 customers within IT Glue. So you don't want to use a light user for one of your techs. You want to use a light user for a customer to access their stuff.
I believe it's 5 organizations, but yes, you may, like, if it's one of your techs, that may be, I mean, if you've got enough organizations and you've got enough techs, then probably this isn't for you. We do have a lot of people who've signed up for it with us initially, and then as they really start using it, like it's often for most people enough to get started with. So they'll set 1 account up that can actually edit content, and then they set up their other accounts as light users, and then as they grow it, they add. What you get from that is also support from GMS. So we have documentation standards. We share those with you. We have a documentation specialist who will work with the MSPs, train them, give them advice on the best way to set up their IT Glue.
And do you know
how to sync between, if they've got all of the assets in Autotask or ConnectWise, we show them how to sync the configuration assets to populate IT Glue without manually doing it, which sometimes people don't even know that they could do. So that's that sort of thing.
So IT Glue, like I said, they have 3 different license types. They have Basic, Select, and Enterprise. And like with all of them, they can do documentation. With Select, they get the ability to do workflows. And with Enterprise, they get to do custom branding and run books and API access, that type of stuff. So do you know which type of license they're getting for the 75?
Sorry, Candace, go ahead. Go ahead.
Basic.
Okay. I just want to make sure they have all the answers, because with Basic, I just also want to make sure that you guys know you get to do 1 data source. So you can either connect it to your PSA or your CRM, and it only does one-way synchronization. So it'll pull the things from your PSA or CRM into IT Glue. But if you make changes or you know, if you add a phone number to a user, it's not going to synchronize that data back. So you would need to be on the Select or the Enterprise to have 2-way PRM, PSA or CRM sync, or have more than 1 data source. So I just want to make sure that the full disclosure is out there, if you will. The last question I see right here is, can you do a live call on speakerphone right now, pretending to have a support issue?
You know, it's very difficult to pretend to be a user, because I've got to call, you know, what line are we calling in from? Like, the mentors recognize the phone number, the pop-up comes up. I'm not a real user with a real issue. You know, trying to secret shop without having that all really well planned out. You're just going to get a mentor saying, "Hi, Tanis."
Gotcha. Fair enough.
Like, the team's big, but I know the whole team. Like, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get somebody answer the phone and know that it's me. I mean, that is something that, as part of the sales process, there are certainly people that want to call in and do a practice call, but it always really comes with that caveat that what what content are they accessing? Like, we don't have a way to remotely connect to you. We can't access your IT glue. Like, we can't help you with a real issue. We can talk to you about the types of things that we would do in that scenario.
So I lied. There is one more question, but I don't know that this is a question that is really necessarily for you guys. If two competing MSPs use the same RMM, PSA, antivirus, IT glue, and now they're both using GMS for their help desk and NOC, what makes them stand out in the MSP world? Or are they just going to commoditize their pricing into the grave?
Well, I think what would make them stand out is the MSP, is you.
Mm-hmm.
You're the key differentiator, how you interact with your clients.
Yep.
I still think you are going to be the defining factor, Earl, because remember, you're the one that still has to do all the documentation for those clients. So just because there's two MSPs using all the same tools doesn't mean you two are both that great at documentation, okay? So you are still the differentiating factor. Your knowledge, your expertise, your experience and longevity in the industry are all factors that are going to, really, really define you as an MSP. And let's be honest. If I'm going out and selling my services, I've said this time and time again, your customers and prospects, they do not care how the watch is made. They just want to know what time it is. You're not going to go in there and say, I use ConnectWise Manage, ConnectWise Automate, IT. They don't care.
Yeah.
How quickly are you going to resolve my issues? Am I going to have all of these stupid issues I've been having with my current IT guy? What are you going to do for me? That is the type of stuff you need to answer for your clients.
Yep.
And just because two guys are using Automate doesn't mean they're both using them the same way, or Manage, or IT Glue, or any other tool. So don't look at it as, oh, we're all using ConnectWise and IT Glue, so we're all just a commodity now. No, there's a reason people go to Walmart or Aldi. I actually like some of the food at Aldi better, even though it's more cost effective. People choose based on what appeals to them. And if you walk in there like a cocky SOB, they probably don't want to do business with you. If you walk in there and you're listening to them and asking questions and offering them genuine advice, now you're defining yourself as an industry leader, and that's the type of person they want to do business with. So,
agreed. Well said.
Thank you. So with that said, we have answered all of the questions. We've talked about pricing. We've talked about onboarding. We've talked a lot about, how GMS Live Expert built out their help desk and NOC and how you train your people. And I feel like I've learned a lot today about you guys. And I know that plenty of the attendees here have as well. It sounds like Raj and maybe some other people are going to reach out and learn more about signing up for your services. So do you guys have any, last words of wisdom you would like to offer?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having us. It was a great pleasure to be here. You're an excellent host and great audience, great questions. I think the final thought would be that the whole value proposition of working with an outsourced help desk and NOC comes down to how you value your time. So if you feel that you should be spending your time working on your business, attracting new clients and managing relationships, then you should probably work with a company like ours. Get yourself out from under the desk and get your team focused on strategic priorities.
Oh, there is one thing that I think I forgot to ask. You might have mentioned
after my beautiful wrap up.
I'm so sorry. You guys are in the 51st state of Canada, right?
Yeah, Canada and US. That's correct.
Okay, so you are in both Canada and US. And where is the help desk located?
So we're across Canada. In the States, we're in Texas, upstate New York, and Maryland.
And Ohio and North Carolina.
Same with the NOC, or are they only in Canada?
Same with the NOC.
Okay. So if we have a client that has security concerns or whatever, and all of their services need to be in the US, you can make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
I'm glad you asked that one.
Yeah, good question.
All right. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate the four of you. I really appreciate GMS and everything that you guys are doing for MSPs. And yeah, guys, thanks for watching. And Dan, if you have any questions or need anything, don't hesitate to ask. And like I said, I want to send you an introduction to IT Boost. So we'll talk offline about that. All right. So for everyone that is still here with me, tomorrow we're going to have a script repository building. So we're going to have a lot of PowerShell scripts and some fun ConnectWise Automate and Kaseya VM VSA stuff. So feel free to pop into the Zoom room and take a look at that. If you are a member of MSP Webinars, real easy to find. And Thursday we have another webinar. Friday we have another member breakout session where we talk specifically about ConnectWise Automate. Next webinar newsletter will go out on Friday. And you all have yourselves a fantastic rest of your day. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.